Today's episode is sponsored by No Strings Attached e-News, your premier online magazine with interesting and informative articles from lifestyle, entertainment, and news worldwide. Visit the website to find out what's buzzing on nsaen.com. Welcome to the talk show Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. The goal of this show is to provide a learning experience to people of all ages, with guests from various fields in academics, a wide range of industries, and insight into the many forms of art, athletics, and entertainment. We hope you enjoy the show. Filmmaker and director Rick Stanton is today's guest. Rick will talk about his new film, Spectrum, as well as his experiences working with people who have autism.
Writer, director, Rick Stanton, welcome to Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.
Thanks for having me, mate. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Rick, before we talk about your film, Spectrum, tell me about your experiences with your younger brother, Steve, who has autism.
So just to give you a bit of backstory, so the film we're going to talk about today is all about life as an adult with autism. And Steve, who's my brother, who has autism, plays the lead. He's not a trained actor in any way, but we wanted to portray autism on screen in a very authentic way, which is why we made the film. And it comes from a very honest place because I'm 39 now, but I shared a room with my brother until I was 25 in a very small council flat in East London. And we wanted to tell a story that sort of represents him in a very honest light. So, and one of the reasons for that is because autism often on screen, I feel, is being sort of misrepresented. It's kind of been seen as like a special ability or a sort of very cute, childlike sort of output. And we wanted to show people with autism are actually just like anybody else. They just have a different sort of outlook on the world.
So what is being portrayed on TV that you think, or in film, that you think is inaccurate?
I suppose the obvious example would be things like Rain Man, which is obviously a very great film, right, but it's kind of the autistic part of it is sold in almost as just a special power, which I think is not necessarily the right way to look at it. And also, like, I think shows like Love on the Spectrum are great, but they also depict it in a very sort of childlike manner, which has some truth to it. But I wanted to show something more of a different light on it in terms of how he's emotionally engaged with his experience and how his everyday life is just like everybody else. You know, he has the same sort of desires, the same aspirations, the same ups and downs, friendship groups, relationships. He has a social life. And I wanted to depict that because often it's not necessarily been seen that way.
Right. Well, so how did Steve's continuing journey inspire you to create the film?
So the film came about in an interesting way because within the film, at the very end, there's a very dramatic event that happens where Steve's character witnesses a young lady who's being brutally attacked. And that's what I wrote first for the film. And that's because that was a incident that happened to me about 15 years ago. I was walking home from a pub at like 2 a.m. and then I came across this woman who had all blood on her face. She was screaming. She was laid out on the floor. And as I was trying to help her, police came and they put me on the floor and put me in handcuffs because they thought they just reacted quickly and thought I was a part of the incident. And then luckily for me, a lady from like a tower block came down and said to the police, "No, this guy's got nothing to do with it. He's helping her. I'm the one who witnessed the attack," and sort of got me off essentially, you know. So I wanted to put that into a film as an idea. And then I started to think, what if this had happened to my brother who has autism? How would he have reacted different? Would he have reacted any different? And what would be those events leading up to that moment? And that's what we essentially came about. So that first, the idea came to me, and then probably a week later, I wrote a script very quickly, wrote a half-hour film, and then I really wanted to make it. And as a filmmaker, filmmakers would know that if you sort of commit to an idea, you kind of have to make it. But at this point, I'd kind of put myself in the corner because I hadn't spoke to my brother about whether he'd want to be in the film, and he's in every single scene of the film. There's a lot of pressure on him. And fortunately enough, he agreed he wanted to do it, and we had a lot of fun making it. And not only Steve as well, so like in the film, the mum in the film is our real mum. The flat that we film in is our real place that I grew up in. And there's a few other characters who have different disabilities within the film, and they're all authentically cast as well. And then they're supported by actors like Wumi Masaku, who you may know from Sinners and Black Mirror and Loki and stuff like that. And it kind of brings it all together.
Well, boy, you certainly know how to work within a budget, because you have the people who are related to you, and the scenery is in your real flat, as you said, your real home. So, and I've seen some fictionalized shows. Atypical was on one of the streaming services, I forget which. But I do have some friends who have a grandchild who's on this spectrum. But what some people, when they hear someone's on the spectrum, they really don't know anything other than what they've seen on TV, things of that nature. So what does it mean when somebody's on the spectrum?
Well, the spectrum is very broad. I think it could possibly be re-looked at, because the spectrum can be people like Steve, who I'd say is mildly on the spectrum, because certain aspects of life, like in the film, he's trying to get a job, but Steve does have a job in real life. He's a cleaner at West Ham Football Ground, which is a Premier League football team. And other people in England, only 30% of people who have autism have work. So that's a huge part of that. But the spectrum is very broad. So some people are non-verbal, which is obviously a very different case to Steve, and Steve's on the other end. So it's kind of the spectrum, like the color spectrum, is very broad of what the definition is, which is why I feel like it needs a re-examination of a bit more defined, of categorized, almost like in the Paralympics, say, if you do a 100-meter sprint, there's different categories of what race you'll be put into, so that it's a sort of a fair race, essentially. And at the moment, I think, for example, if I say to someone that I've met for the first time, say my brother's got autism, I think they automatically think he's a child. Well, and he's 36 years old. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of that thing of like, it's been put through as like it's a thing children have, but most of your life you are an adult. And there needs to be more support with that as well. There's a lot of support in schools for children with autism, but people forget that they need support once they leave school, and then to just get through life, to get a job and relationships and social skills. And fortunately in London, there is a very good support network for that, which Steve has been part of that system. He grew up in a place called Newham in East London. They've had a very good network of people to make that happen. But from the rest of the country, it's not like that at all. For example, in England, I'm not sure how it is in America, but yeah, so there needs to be more done, I think, for adults with autism is really important, sort of case in point.
Oh, well, I think that family is also so important. And you're such a supporter. I had a couple weeks ago on my show, John and Mark X Cronin from John's Crazy Socks. John has Down syndrome, and they put together a very, very successful business. And I think when you have the right support, both in and out of the home, that's the best situation. But your message really isn't about autism. I believe it fuels your philosophy that we all have worth regardless of where we fall on the spectrum. So can you expand on that?
Yes. So basically within the film, one of the plot points is Steve's ambition to get a job. And like I just said, with only 30% of people in England with autism having placement and work. Because what I found is when Steve in real life got a job, it changed him dramatically. Because to have a job, like everybody knows, it's not just the money side of it, which is kind of sold to us. It's the thing of self-worth, social skills. Everything builds upon your work, because I think most people are in work for 40 hours a day, which is kind of, you're probably at work more, you probably see your work colleagues more than you do your partner. So work is very important for that. Right. And that's why it's one of the plot points. And in the film, Steve goes to a job interview and he's disregarded before he even enters the room by the person interviewing him. And it's because on that sheet that he has, who's coming in next, he will know that he's on the spectrum. And that's something we found in real life where Steve previously had gone for a couple of jobs for like a supermarket to stack groceries on the shelf. And he was considered non-experienced enough when he had just came off a placement for a year working in a hospital, doing a range of different jobs from portering to working in the canteen to working in the shop, doing admin work. So we felt this was not correct in terms of his lack of experience, because to work in a hospital and succeed at that is a lot higher grade, in my opinion, than working in a supermarket. So from that sort of real experience, we thought that was an important sort of case to make.
Rick, I often talk to my guests about the story behind the glory. So what obstacles did you have to overcome to make Spectrum?
I suppose one of the obstacles is this was a self-funded film. So basically, I paid for it myself. It cost about £5,000. I had that money because my grandmother died, and I got £5,000. And it was either go on a holiday or make a movie. So I wanted to make a movie. Do you know what I mean? So that's the only obstacle really, is trying to do a project like this, is the funding. And funding is very hard to do. But I didn't want to try and find funding from certain resources. Because I didn't want somebody else to give me permission to make the film. I had a story to tell and I wanted to make it. And I love the process. Being on set is my favorite place to be. I'd rather be on set than be on a holiday. So, do you know what I mean? There's no challenges with it because I love it. You know what I mean? The process is hard. It's very difficult to bring a movie together, but it's also extremely fun. And like, for example, when we shot the last scene in the film, the next day, my friend who I was making the film with, because we only had a crew of two, myself and another guy, for sort of 70% of the film. And then the rest of the bigger scenes, we brought in a sound person as well. But when we finished the next day, my friend texted me and he was like, "Oh, I'm sad. It's over. We're finished." He's like, "I want to carry on. Like, let's just carry on because it's just so fun being together and bringing everybody together to make a film." Like, there's one scene when there's probably like 30 or 40 extras in it who are all family and friends who are in a pub sequence. And that's just, that's just everybody, having a great time, making something together, all collaborating together. And it's, it's no better place for me.
Yeah. Well, it's great that's, people always say if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. So you have that kind of passion for it. I've had many filmmakers on the show, some of them with $1 million budgets and more, but the fundraising, sometimes their dream takes 8 years to bring to the screen. You get the money, then people pull out, then you have to wait, make more money, then you go over budget. So, you need, like you said, many people were in your family, but not all of the people were family and friends. So what was your experience working with BAFTA Award winner Wunmi Mosaku?
So Wunmi I've known for about 15 years or so. She's just been a friend of mine through my partner and myself. And we've never worked together, but we've always just been friends. Like, we hang out together. She lives in LA now. I've been out to see her in LA and stuff. But we've just never had a project that's came about that we could work together on. And then basically she came on board with this project because I was basically prepping to do the scene that she's in, which is a really important scene. It sets up the whole film. And basically I was prepping the film, and then my partner said, Wunmi's back next week. She's in town for like a week or two because she lives in LA. She is from England. And I was like, we're going to shoot next week. We've got this scene. I need an actor to be this support worker that's an important person. So I just sent her a text and was like, "Look, we're doing this film." I sent her maybe 1 or 2 scenes that we'd already shot and edited together. And I just said, and I sent her the script and was like, "This is what we need from you. Can you give me an hour or 2 hours?" And she was like, "I've got a window of 1 hour. If we could do it in an hour, like 100%, like, of course I'm going to do the film." So we went down and we shot for 1 hour, and that's it. That's all you need, It's just about pulling your resources that you can, pulling those favors when you can, when they're needed. And do you know what I mean? Wumi being a part of it, not only she's an incredible actor, but also it elevates the film because it means another reason for people to click on it, because they might have seen something of some other piece of her work. So yeah, so we're very lucky to have her.
Certainly. And boy, that 1 hour window is tight. Let me know. Tell me what your brother thought, said, felt when he saw the finished product of the film.
Oh, so that was a really great experience because he hadn't seen any of the rushes. He hadn't seen any scenes to cut together or anything like that. And then what we did is we did a friends and family screening in a cinema, like in Stratford from where we live. And it was a really good place because it was where the cinema that I used to go to as a kid. I watched, like, my first film I remember when the cinema first opened was Men in Black. So, and I even said that in my speech when we was there. I was like, the first film we see was Men in Black, and now we're here showing our film. It's a really nice sort of circle moment. And then so we had friends and family, and then everybody watched it on that moment. And then after, I did a little speech and some Q&A with people, and I got Steve to come up for Steve to answer questions as well. And he's just loving it, he's like a movie star, like everybody's asking him questions. And then when we finished, because the big poster was on the screen in the background, people came up, and strangers who have never met Steve before, people that I just know, came up and were like, "Oh, Steve, can we get a picture?" And then it's like, people getting pictures of Steve and stuff. And I was just stood there like, what's this? I made the film. No one wants to talk to me. Everyone wants to talk to the star. But it's a amazing moment, and it's like a really proud moment for me and for Steve. And do you know what I mean? He just loves it, So he's relishing in it. So we have to keep him on, keep his ego down,
Well, the film certainly is going to teach people a lot about the spectrum, but with your relationship with Steve as his brother, what was that like? Were there problematic situations, people who were much more uncomfortable because they did not understand? A lot of times we say that it's a negative connotation, but because of ignorance, they just don't know what it is. So what was that like for you? Because you said you shared a room until you were 25 years old. So let's kind of flip the switch and go back in time a little bit, which, prompted.
Yeah, so Steve's school life was hard for him. Like, he got bullied a lot. It was very difficult for him in certain situations. We actually went to different schools just because it just worked out like that. When it's quite confusing, but we went to different schools, and basically he did have quite a hard time in school. But then once he left school, and then he was still part of that support network within the community of where we grew up, then he kind of had opportunities to meet more people with autism. He went to a lot of groups, a lot of social groups with people with autism who were the same age as him or older. So then that gave him a lot of confidence because they would run sort of workshops of confidence building. They're the reason he got into a placement within a hospital for a year placement. That gave him a lot of confidence as well. And he met a lot of his friends through these groups. And so he got lucky like that, like I said before. So in a hard time, which a lot of people do in their teenage years, they have a lot of hard time in school. And then once he got out of that, he kind of started to blossom over the sort of between 18 to 30 sort of period. He sort of gradually, step by step, got more confident. And every day he's sort of blossoming every day, even this film, it's gave him more confidence, because why wouldn't it? You've had a great experience. And also all the comments we've had on YouTube and stuff from the autistic community, or parents with people that have autism, it's just so positive. So every time a new comment comes in on the film, I send it to Steve, and that's obviously going to be a great boost to him. And do you know what I mean? It's an interesting one because, like, I always say Steve has a better social life than I do, Like, Steve doesn't live with me now, but he's staying with me over this last couple of days. I'm the one staying at home right now. He's out, he's in central London in a bar with his friends, and then he's coming home at like midnight or whatever. He's blossoming. So yeah, it's a process. It's been a process, but he's in a good place now.
That's great to hear. Do you think that Steve felt more comfortable on set because there were so many non-actors, because there were friends and family? What do you think the film itself gained by having non-actors in the film?
Yeah, so basically, I think that was really important process for that. So one of the reasons we only had myself and my friend um, make the film, so we would shoot two cameras. I'll shoot one camera, my friend will shoot another camera. We'll do the sound ourselves, we'll do the lighting ourselves. And this guy that I'm talking about, he's been my friend since I was like 12 years old. So he's known Steve his whole life. So when we were filming, it's less intimidating because it's just me and Michael. And then we're just here and we're just, I mean, it's not important. If it doesn't go anywhere, nothing happens with the film. We're just here because we're having fun, you know? And also the way we did the script as well. So I wrote a script of what the story is, all of the sort of touch notes, all the reference points. But nobody in the film, other than Wumi, ever read the script.
Mm.
Because the way we would work is we'll turn up on the day. I know what we need to get. But then I'll say, Steve, this is the scenario, or to my mum or other actors in there, Kyle, for example, Steve's friend. This is the scenario. This is what's happening. This is your action. And this is what we need to talk about. And let's just go. And then what would happen is we'll do a few takes and then we see what they give. And then what we'll do is just lean into what they're saying. So, for example, there's a great scene in the film when Kyle is telling Steve, he's advising Steve to wear a suit for a job interview. Kyle's his like best friend, right? And so when I'm describing that to Kyle, it's like, Kyle, just try to persuade Steve that he should wear a suit rather than just a shirt for a job interview, right? So then Kyle starts talking, and then when they're talking, Kyle is like an encyclopedia for like superheroes. So when he's talking, I'm like, Kyle, try and reference some superhero stuff as well. You know, like, because you're playing a superhero video game, just try and bring it back to that as well. And like, how natural conversations do, like when you're with your friends and you're watching TV or whatever, you'll be talking about one subject and then you go, oh, look, that's that guy, blah, blah, blah. You know, you keep sort of triangling the conversation. So basically what happened is Carl was referring to the suit as in a business suit, but then he refers it to like Batman wearing a superhero suit and how people don't take superheroes seriously. That's why they wear their costumes. And it's like, once he sort of got into that, it's like, okay, this is amazing. Let's just lean into that, lean into this. And then Carl says a very funny piece of dialogue about Catwoman. And if she didn't wear a suit, people would think she was just a librarian, right? And when we was filming it, I had the camera on my shoulder. So Carl said that line and I started shaking because I was laughing. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry, Carl. That's amazing. Let's just do that again. But I'm the one who messed it up because I'm laughing, you know. And it's because Carl's reference point is truth. Catwoman is a librarian in her day life, you know. So and he brought it. That's where you get like the golden nuggets. I let people express themselves, you know. Like you always hear it of like, I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio will be like improvise the scene like a line, and that's what they keep because it feels more authentic. And that's how we made the whole film. So every single scene in it, nobody's referring to a script. I never even took a script with me because I just know this is what we need to get. And then if they went too far off the plot, I just go, okay, let's just draw it back. We need to focus on X, Y, Z because that's going to link to the next part of the story. So yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, it's very important to work with people. For Steve to work with other people who also neurodivergent, it frees it up, you know. It makes it just feel like play rather than has any sort of pressure to it.
Right, and I love the story about you shaking. You had a great scene like that, and it's your fault. And I have to tell you, I've had some filmmakers on before, as I said, but when they talk about the actors, they never said, so I turned to my mom and said, that's the first time I ever heard that. So I think it's so cool that your family was involved in this. One of the last questions before we wrap it up is something very important. What made you decide to shoot the film in black and white?
So the reason we shot the film in black and white is because people with autism often have a black and white way of thinking. So that's why we did that. Also, we shot the film in 4:3, which is like a square aspect ratio. And the reason for that is because during the film, Steve's horizons haven't been broadened yet. So he's boxed into his small sort of world because he hasn't been given opportunity for his horizons to broaden. And that's why we kept him boxed in for the character. And then I'm not sure if you noticed, but there's a moment in the film where it opens up full cinema scope. And that's because at that moment, Steve has been given an opportunity to prove himself. And that's why his opportunities broaden, so we try to express that within camera.
Outstanding. Well, first tell the viewers where they can go to see the film.
So one place to see the film would be on my website, which is rickstanton.co.uk/spectrum. That's a really good place to watch it because not only can you watch the film, you can also watch the trailer. You can see some interviews that I explain, other interviews that I've explained the film, and also some right information on how and why the film was made. Or if you just go onto YouTube and search for Spectrum Rick Stanton, it should come up like that. And it's the one with the black and white image, because there is quite a few films called Spectrum that are on YouTube. But I think ours is more the higher listed now. So hopefully you can find it like that.
Well, that's great. We'll certainly put that
amazing.
For sure, so they can see that. So Rick Stanton, thank you for joining us today. I think you bring so many important messages to your passion project. Go out there, folks, watch Spectrum. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman. To contact Marc, email him at info@lifestorieswithmarchoberman.com or visit him on social media through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Thank you for watching Life Stories with Marc Hoberman.